The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
This is the John E. Grant Wheaton Farm Management Area. Wheaton Farm is a 1,250-acre parcel of land which the town acquired over several years through various means. Some through purchase, some through gift, some through taking tax title land and making it conservation land, some with purchase help by the state, and as I say, we have 1,250 acres here of beautiful land which is used for many things. It's under care and control of the Conservation Commission, as are approximately 4,000 acres of land here in town. Now, in addition to preserving it as open space for the recreation and enjoyment of the citizens of Easton, we now have the Edmund Hands Community Garden, which is also available to town residents, as the Conservation Commission may determine. One of the things I love about Wheaton Farm is the main rule we have, or they have now, for the use of the farm, where it says on the bottom of the sign, take only pictures, leave only footprints. Often you will see people not only walking through the area and enjoying it, some people bring their horses and like to ride around the area. But beyond the parking lot we have here, motor vehicles are prohibited. Let us take a walk and see some of the Wheaton Farm attributes. This is the Edmund Hands Community Garden. Ed is another important figure in Easton history. A longtime teacher at Olive Ames High School, a longtime member of the Town Historical Commission, and continues to serve on the Community Preservation Committee, which is comes from the Community Preservation Act, which we got the town to vote to approve in 2001. The Community Preservation Act sets up a system whereby for a small percentage of one's real estate taxes, it goes into a fund which can be used for open spaces, affordable housing, recreation, many public purposes. If you look at the Community Preservation website on the town website, you will find the projects they are presently working on, which are considerable and could not be done without this kind of funding. One of the projects they're working on is the renovation of the Wheaton Farm barn, which we shall look at presently. Now we're on the other side of Bay Road at another portion of Wheaton Farm, also under control of the Conservation Commission. You will see lots of plantings here, and if we go down here, this is the Wheaton Farm barn. When I was chairman of the Conservation Commission, the NRT used to use this and this whole area in here for a summer camp for children. Understand that one of the projects the Community Preservation Act is going to fund is an upgrade and a renovation of this farm, so that it may continue and we can continue to enjoy this puzzle protected open space. If you look across the street from where we are right now, you will see what was the homestead of Daniel Wheaton, whose farm this was and for whom the property is named. This is the northern part of the Wheaton Farm property. It's called the Webb Farm after a former owner. This is a former farm. The land goes out here and ties into the rest of the Wheaton Farm property. We acquired this in the late 90s using a state self-help grant. We received the grant which enabled the town to make the purchase. At the time, it was the largest self-help grant ever awarded. some $450,000, which enabled the town to acquire this parcel. But this ties in the Wheaton Farm area, has some lovely walking trails, which people love to use and enjoy the vegetation and the wildlife and the views and the vistas. This vista over here is particularly enjoyable, and it's a great asset for the town. I always say it's impossible to talk about open spaces in the town of Easton without referring to John Grant. I had the pleasure of serving with John for 15 years on the Conservation Commission. John served for 45 years, was and is still the longest serving Conservation Commissioner in the state. John was particularly dedicated to the acquisition of open space land. John had it, well, when the town of Easton decided to propose a town wetlands bylaw to add to the Wetlands Protection Act, protect more things a different way, John made the case for it. John was very persuasive at town meeting, and the town meeting voted by voice vote to adopt the bylaw. One of the things John did was he maintained a map in his house of the entire town of Easton. He shaded in areas he thought were good areas for open space. John's goal was to establish an open space area in every neighborhood in town so that people had land to go and enjoy for recreational purposes, to see the wildlife, maybe to fish, so forth. John largely accomplished that goal, although there were many pieces he tried to acquire which we could not. John, I think, will never be fully appreciated for all he has done for the town. I hope I'm wrong. But then in 2017, we decided to dedicate this area and rename it the John E. Grant Wheaton Farm Management Area. John was here at the ceremony, although he had begun to fail in health, but I was glad we were able to do it while John was able to see it, because he needed to know what appreciation the town had for what he did. Here we are at Old Pond, one of the two ponds you'll find on Route 106, just a bit west of Five Corners. This is a very old pond which has been here at least since, well, maybe Natural Pond, since across the street there used to be a factory. You might know it as Belcher Malibu, but in the days of the Civil War, used to manufacture cannonballs. And what we would do is test the cannonballs by shooting them into Old Pond. For years after the town acquired the land, people would go into Old Pond, check in the soil in the base, and maybe come home with a cannonball. A nice trinket. Here you will see a bridge going over towards the buildings on Paquantaquit Avenue, and a waterfall here dealing with the overflow of the pond. A beautiful scenic view all the way up here. Here we are at New Pond, just right on Route 106, another beautiful open space parcel controlled by the Conservation Commission. As you can see, the vista is lovely. Just up this way is an area where you can walk and bring your canoe and paddle on the pond, which people often do. Back in front of us, we see some fishermen doing some fishing on the pond. These are all permitted uses by the Conservation Commission to be enjoyed by the citizenry of the town. Okay, this is another view of New Pond at the dam and bridge going over the dam, which we constructed probably in the late 1990s with state funding, which helped us, and have a beautiful way for the overflow water to go way under 106 as it goes down to the south. This is Ames Long Pond. a pond which is partially in Easton and partially in Stoughton, is managed and controlled by the Conservation Commission, which had to do some work to replace a dam up this way, but is to be used for enjoyment, for maybe boating. In Stoughton they use it for swimming. But there's a beautiful vista and a lovely piece of protected open space land which the town may use and enjoy. Okay, this is the entrance to Ames Long Pond on Canton Street in North Easton. As the sign shows you, this is a gift to the town by the Eastern Land Company, president of which was John S. Ames. Many of the parcels the town has not only protected conservation land, but also buildings such as Oaks Ames Hall, the library, and many school buildings in the center of town. The town owes to the generosity and largesse of the Ames family. As I often say, what Easton would do without the Ames family, I hate to think. That's another property here to enjoy and take advantage of.